Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Dentistry Beyond the Numbers. Wow, we are growing, and I know that because of our next guest. We have, I think, one of the really fast growing lecturers and instructors out there for cosmetic and restorative dentistry. Just knowing a lot about his practice, knowing a little about him, but a lot about his team, the situation that he has in Colts Neck, New Jersey, a phenomenal area. I referred friends to him. He is makes us all look great. But without further ado, I want to introduce Anthony Vocaturo. Dr. Vocaturo, how are you?
Mark, I'm doing well, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's
I
my
have a ton
pleasure.
of respect for you throughout the years.
Me too. I have a lot of respect. And I got to tell you, as I told him a minute ago, the most respect I have for him is look at that sleeve. That is magnificent. That is my dream, by the way. If I can find a cemetery that'll take me after I do that.
Yeah, listen,
Oh,
they'll just cut it off before you go.
exactly. All right, great. But, I want to get into it. What separates Anthony from, we've had other dentists on, you've seen the series. Some dentists are PPO private people, meaning they have a PPO practice and they take a lot of fee for service. And they really use the PPO as a marketing. And Anthony and I have talked about this and touched on this, that they use the PPO as a marketing tool. Anthony has never deviated from the fee for service. He's got his own philosophy. I got to tell you, in his office, he's got a lecture room. He's got a tremendous educational platform. He's now with Ross Nash doing courses all over the country, and I think we're all going to be better for it. I'm trying to get him to my group to teach our docs because I could see the production going up, way up. But I got to ask you a question, Anthony. First of all, let's go back. Where'd you grow up? Bayonne?
Yeah.
Bayonne. What made a guy from Bayonne grow up into being a dentist that, thank God, you really made it. So tell us, what was that
Well,
journey like?
if we're going to be blatant and honest here, actually fear. I was, I don't know, 7 years old. Had to go to the dentist. Was raised by two Italian immigrants, very religious. So they basically, I went to a Catholic grammar school, had a cavity, and the nuns wouldn't let me back in the school until they filled the cavity. So my dad took me to the dentist. It was around Christmas time, and my father was a military man. He basically said, you're a man, you got to go in that room by yourself. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm 7 years old. I'm far from a man. So I went into the room, told the dentist I had to go to the bathroom. My thought was I'm going to lock myself in the bathroom. And then I realized there was a window in the bathroom, so I climbed out the window, went home. My father got home, was not very happy about that, beat the living bejeebus out of me, took me back the next day and told the dentist, look, the kid's got to get back to school, do what you need to do, gas him up, whatever you need to do. So I can still remember vividly, I was laying in the dental chair, looking at a little yellow TV, and I still remember it was a Panasonic, little yellow thing with rabbit antennas on it. And Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was on there. And I'm a stoned 7 year old watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and that little guy wanted to be a dentist. So I guess I correlated this great feeling to being a dentist, and
That's
that's been
great.
my dream.
Wow,
And
that's
that's what got me
amazing.
here.
I mean, we all have journeys, but Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is a great mentor. Then let me ask you this. The key to what I got to find out and to guide these young dentists coming out is the fee-for-service PPO. Every time somebody gets nervous, they reach out and they sign up with another insurance. And as nervous as they get, they go down and down and down until they've got the volume, but they realize they don't have the profit. So what made you stick to your guns, Anthony? And good guns you have, but what made you stick to the guns? I mean, let's be
Listen,
honest. You have
listen,
good guns. Let's call it
I
out.
was always like kind of set in my ways. You know what I mean? And I was always raised by if you're gonna do something, do it right, and you stick to it. And being raised the way I was raised, it's first kid to ever go to college to move on. So I just knew what I wanted, and we spoke about this before. I mean, I knew no matter what I do in life, I just try to be the best I can at it. You try to be the best, but there's no such thing as the best. You could always learn more. So I always tried to be the best, and I envisioned, listen, if I'm going to have a practice, I want to be the creme de la creme. at an early age, I'm like, I want to practice today where I see my practice 20 years from now. It was tougher in the beginning. Like, we use this example speaking privately, I'm like, listen, I wanted to sell Bentleys. I mean, like, you don't go to a Bentley dealership looking to buy a Ford or a Kia. You know what I mean? That, not that there's something wrong with them, but I'm figuring if I establish a business that is known for a certain thing, that's the patients that'll be drawn to you. So in the beginning, it was tough. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's a lot less people that want to buy Bentleys than Fords. But as years went on, now I just attract Bentley buyers. So
It's really incredible the fortitude that you need because a lot of things we do out of fear. When I started my practice, out of fear, I took certain insurances. In the end, I took them because they kept working. But to stick to that and go through it and end up where you are now, I mean, that is just,
yeah, but you know what it is. I mean, if you go through life and you're struggling, I mean, at first it was a struggle, but I knew what my end goal was, and I remember reading the book The Secret. If you truly believe something's going to happen, it's going to happen. So you really just have to stick with it, and you can't be afraid. No one in life gains anything by not trying, and the biggest learning lessons we get in life are failures. You don't learn from succeeding; you learn from failing. So I mean, there was definitely multiple bumps in the road in the beginning, but I'm just like, I'm not. If I realized in my head, if I'm gonna go join PPOs and have insurance companies. Now, let's get this straight. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as dental insurance. It's the dental benefit. I mean, for the patient. It's not like medical insurance. We all know that. And the only thing that the insurance are really worried about, and another thing I learned very early in my career, is that they're worried about their bottom line. And I hate to use the word patchwork, but just get them through, get them out. And I realize that most people in the world want quality work if they could afford it or not, but they still want the job done right.
so
And that's when I said I can't be involved in this because I knew my career in dentistry would not last long if I stayed on that track.
it's incredible. It really is incredible that you can do that. But let me ask you this. In your early days, is there any other than fortitude and sticking with the program, any early on advice you would give a dentist today looking for direction? We spoke about it one of my earlier podcasts where PPO or private, and everybody's wrestling, group or private. So you're a guy who I could firsthand say you have family coming up in the industry. You have family that is going to be a dentist. I mean, you've got an unbelievable practice. You're still young at heart. I mean, first of all, you recently got married, right? A couple of years ago. So congratulations.
Yes.
I know that's really great. But what would you give somebody if they were starting out and they wanted something like yours? I mean, they wanted that feeling that every case is an amazing case. And we'll get into what do you have to do for fee for service in a minute, but I'm saying what pitfalls do you give a young dentist that he or she is starting out right now?
I mean, well, first of all, with most kids, like I have a son in dental school right now. I
Right.
mean, they're coming out and they're so buried in bills, and you just have to really just stick with what you want. I mean, you can't be afraid of, the pitfalls that are going to come with in the beginning doing this. You can't get caught up in, all right, I just want, like, if you do that, if you really want to really go into dentistry, what I think you and I went in there for, to treat patients and yes, obviously to make money, but the whole thing is you have, in my opinion, you have to just chase your dream. You can't just settle for what's out there. You went into becoming a dentist as a career. I think once you join or going into corporate, to me, it becomes a job. You can flip burgers for a job. You know what I mean? To me, I wanted a career. I wanted to make my own decisions. And even back then, I was thinking all these other things. If, like now, believe me, I have plenty of corporates, corporations that are looking to purchase the practice. But I mean, there's a lot of advantages now that I realize too, such as tax implications, autonomy, building in the community. You
It's your
can't
own,
do that in that.
more than anything else, it's your own piggy bank.
It is.
It's your thing. It's your you're autonomous, you're an individual. I agree with you. I mean,
It's even,
yeah,
we
go
were
ahead.
saying staff before, like you were saying, like, how do you get such a great staff? Because, I'll tell you how later once we get into it. But if somebody I don't like, I mean, I know I'm hiring them, I'm interviewing them, I'm paying them. I could pay them whatever they want. You know what I mean? And to me, that's a huge part of a team. To me, there needs to be total transparency in an office, and you can. I think in corporate world, you really can't do that. I may be wrong. You may know something I don't, but I
Well,
just
I,
know
I
the
got
way
to
I
tell
try
you,
to run my business.
for the way you talk, and we've spoken a lot about this, about giving your team, and I call a team like yours a team because they're dressed, they look impeccable. I mean, through your pictures and your advertisements and your articles that I watch, but you pay your team a lot. You
You
believe
have to.
in giving great staff great pay. Am I right
Yeah,
about that?
listen, you definitely have to, and you know something, you need to let go of the reins. You could, listen. Like I said, I'm a bit of a control freak, but I let people be accountable. You know what I mean? Like they do what they have to do. I see it at the end, and if there's changes, we discuss it as a team. I'm a D type of personality, so when there's an issue in the office, I hire adults that are paid well. If there's an issue, come with me with the not the problem, but
Solutions.
with a solution.
Yeah, it's great.
I
I
mean, you
think
have
that's the difference, right? A young guy or somebody wants to change their practice. They're 38 years old, unfulfilled. He or she wants to change something. They have to understand you don't wake up, and this is the whole thing about this, everybody out there, ladies and gentlemen, this is the whole thing about this podcast. Speaking to Dr. Vocaturo, Anthony, as I know him, but speaking to him, you just hear, you don't just wake up on a Monday and say, you know what, Mabel, we're going to go fee for service, right? You've got to be the part for fee for service.
exactly, but you don't wake up doing anything. If you're overweight, you don't wake up and say, "Well, today's Monday, tomorrow I'm going to be skinny." It takes work and it takes consistency and it takes believing in the end result. You just have to stay on track. Are you
That's
going
a
to come off
great
it every
analogy.
once in a while? Yes. But something, just keep that end goal in mind, where you want to be.
I
You
have a
don't want to be
question for you.
70.
I
Yeah.
have a question for you on a different level. I mean, we talk about fee for service, it's right up your alley. When we went into dentistry, doctors were still making more than us. We were looked at as the profession with multiple suicides. And nobody respected the dentist. It wasn't sexy in a bar, it wasn't looked at as a high. Now dentistry has changed. There's an opportunity to make money. I mean, if you sell things, you can make money, and the money is different than we ever imagined it could be. Even getting crowns, even building a practice, it's different. Do you think the fee-for-service doctor is dead? Do you think the people that are coming out of school now see the bucks, see the volume, just get a place, work 10 years and sell? Or do you think we're going into a different, with all the technology, which I'm leading into, do you think the fee-for-service is stronger than ever or weaker than ever?
I think it's on the mindset of the individual coming out of school. You know what I mean? If somebody just wants to make money, now you can make money both ways, and you can make a lot of it both ways. But I think it's what that person feels as an individual. Like, do you want to build your own little legacy, or do you just want to be another cog in the wheel?
Right. So
I
tell
think
me, you built this practice. I mean, it's a fantastic office, but technology, you seem like you're up on it all. So tell me how in a fee-for-service practice, you have to be on top of your game, right?
Listen, I was always the first kid in line at the candy store. You know what I mean? When the new candy came out. And I'm the same way. Now, as years have gone on, you know, being in the industry, lecturing, dealing with companies, consulting with companies, I do get the benefit of saying, "Hey, Anthony," or I call them up and they're like, "All right, we'll give it to you at this price," whatever. So there are definite benefits. New products, I evaluate a lot of them. So that's a huge plus. And no matter pretty much every product or technology that has come out has advanced our profession, no
Correct.
matter how you want to think it. I
Is there one
remember,
thing that did it more than anything else for you?
well, listen, I remember in the beginning, I could take a full arch impression in like 3 minutes. And I was like, do I really need digital? Do I need this? Do I need that? You know, that is, to me, that's a huge, huge change. That was a big thing. Also, other things with, you know, like AI design now, designing cases. It's crazy. It does bite. I think right now, if you give the technology and your lab all the information, all you're doing is being a dentist that preps one tooth at a time. If it's one or if it's 30, it's a slam dunk. Like this course that I'm doing right now, this Smile Design Boot Camp that we're offering here in March and June and September and October, we take people from, we get you, this is what you need to get your lab, this is what you need to see, this is what you send your lab, and they will give you everything you need just to prep teeth. And you get a result that's predictable, functional, aesthetic, the whole 9 yards. So it's I think we complicate things more in dentistry. And in dentistry, you have to remember when you're in dental school, and I'm dealing, you have your son's in dental school.
He is. He's third.
Mine too. Where's he
Like
at?
that. He's at Turo.
All right, mine's at Rutgers.
At Rutgers.
And you know something? They're so trained to think in the box. Like you cannot have a practice like mine or if you stay in the box. I've been out of the box. I don't even know where the box is. You know what I mean? You just have to think out of the box. And I think we're just so trained that there's only one way to do things. There's only one right way, one wrong way. Other dentists are wrong if they don't do it my way. There's a million ways to do this. But I think it's with years of doing it and getting your own little protocol and using technology, even the most difficult case, collapse bites, cross bites, becomes achievable.
Well, Anthony, there's no substitute for experience. I remember when a mentor of mine years ago, obviously, he said, I was out of dental school about 5, 6 years, and he said, Mark, you want to practice like you're practicing 10, 12 years? I go, yeah. He goes, you got to practice 10 years.
12 years.
You have seen everything now, So let me ask you this. You build this big practice. Do you have a manager that just does everything and runs the show? I'm just curious. Or are you?
I do dentistry here. I have an office manager, Jackie, which basically runs my entire
Everything.
dental office, and then
Correct.
and then I have Danielle that does my whole lecture in school along with Jackie. Like everybody has their accountability. You can't wear every hat, and that's another thing. As dentists, we want to control everything. You can't grow if you don't let go.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's like you look at Apple, you look at Tesla. I'm sure Elon Musk isn't doing everything. Now he
Exactly.
may be the ideas, but he has people that, believe it or not, are smarter than him doing it. You
Correct.
need to and I say this with labs. If you're going out looking for a lab to save $1, I tell dentists all the time, you want to do my type of dentistry or what I do, your
You
lab
have
needs to know more
great
than you do.
levels. Right.
They need to know more than you. They have to because
Sure.
they're a huge
How
part
long
of
have
it.
you been with your lab?
27
That's
years.
that's really what it is. It's the longevity, it's the experience, it's the camaraderie and working together on these cases. You probably have discussions all the time with these cases.
Yeah, and he's pretty well renowned. Also, he just developed the first digital face bow. So his name's
Oh,
Juan Oliveri.
wow,
Olivier, I'm sorry, people say Olivera. Juan Olivier, and he just developed something called the one bite evolution.
wow.
That's because,
Take away the face bow.
well, listen, to me, it never worked to begin with.
Right. That's interesting. Any dentures done in your office, by the way? I'm just curious.
Listen, we do as transitional through implants, and believe it or not, we see everything here. We've done dentures. It's not like we turn them away. I have an associate here that does most of the general dentistry. I still do some. If I'm doing a case and an MO is there, I'll do it. I mean, nothing's
Who does the
off the wall.
hiring? I mean, you develop this team. Tell me about the process of hiring somebody. And do you have turnover? I mean, that is part of,
Whatever.
exactly, right? That's part of the
Well,
beauty.
I remember we just earlier discussed, and I said I'm a D personality. And you're asking me how I hire. Well, I bring in, obviously, we look at, resumes, this and that, and then bring people in. And then I pick out of that list through the personal interview. maybe let's say I'm looking for a position. I'll bring in my top 5. And then I tell them to take the DISC personality test. You know what that is?
No, tell us.
It's basically a personality that it basically gives you your personality. D means something, I means something,
Really?
S, C, and each one incorporates something. Like D is demanding, S is somebody more scientific, C, they all mean something.
What are you
So they
looking
take
for?
what I'm looking for. So basically, if you're looking for someone that's organized to run your front desk, or let's say to do your insurance or whatever, you want someone that's more geared or more wired to sit there and crush numbers and look at numbers and look at. If you're looking for someone that's going to answer the phone, you want somebody that's more personable. You know what I mean? So I take them and find out
That's great.
what their personalities are, and then who's going to mesh with me.
Wow.
And then before we hire them, we find them, and we want to make sure that their personality fits with the team. It's just like the old saying, one rotten apple will ruin the whole bunch.
Yeah. Wow.
So if that person doesn't fit in, both personality, not only with the team, but with what you're trying to accomplish, it's not going to work.
So as you're going through your career, you've got your son in dental school. I mean, if you were going to go through the associateship, how do you feel fee-for-service does with an associateship? I mean, we spoke to a Dr. Solomon, who has the ability through PPO to bring on doctors because they're not, your insurance in your office is you. I mean, people are coming to see you. And how do you spread the wealth on that?
Okay, but let's use that as an example. So
Yeah.
they'll probably see less numbers of patients here. But we can't be, especially as a young doctor, you can't be hung up on numbers of treatment, of the amount of patients you see. Like for me, for instance, if I'm just going to use round numbers, if I'm charging $3,000 for a crown, and you're getting 35% of that, now someone else is charging $800 and you're getting 50% of that, where are you making money?
Right.
So sometimes all the times you got to work smarter, not harder.
Correct. So, but I'm gonna put a little feet to the fire there. So really what you're looking at is sort of passing it down to your son. I mean, you're fortunate that you have somebody. Is he interested?
So yeah, but I also have an associate here too.
And
That because my son, I don't know, and they both mesh really well. But to me, it's even if you don't have a son, if you build an office and bring in an associate, and he's doing high-end work, and you tell him, listen, concentrate on doing it correctly, because our fee is higher than what you're getting from an insurance company. If you have to redo it. Build your skills. Eventually, you're going to be okay. You got to learn how to do things correctly. If it takes you longer in the beginning, that's why I think sometimes a fee for service is better. Because I think you take a kid out of school, and we'll get into that in 1 second, but you take a kid out of school that really doesn't know dentistry. They really don't. They come out knowing some of it. And then you throw him and give him 15 patients, he's going to learn not to do it correctly. And we were just talking about dental school years ago when you and I went there. We went there because we wanted to go to dental school. Now you have like brilliant minds because they realize there's more money with no hands. So you have a bunch of really brilliant guys that should be in medicine, but go into dentistry. So I think the art of dentistry, in my opinion, from what I see coming out of school, isn't where it was when you and I came out of school.
I think COVID had a role there, but I mean, because the hands-on and people coming out, I agree with you. I think the quality of what I consider everything is treatment planning ability, just really looking at a mouth and knowing what works, what doesn't, when I should raise the vertical, when I shouldn't. And
Yeah, but that comes with experience.
exactly. And
Obviously.
I think people that are coming out and want to try stuff, it's a lot harder on a fee-for-service practice because generally those patients are perceived to be more sophisticated, paying a lot of money. If you're paying $800, half of it comes from the insurance, you still want an excellent job. The judge doesn't know what you paid. You know what I mean? But at the same token, like you said, if you're an owner that gives them the latitude of saying, get it right, get it good, get it the best, don't worry about it.
Well, that's another thing. Like if you're charging a fee that you're entitled to if you're doing this type of work. You could book a patient for 6 hours. You could sit and do a consult. You could speak with the lab, have a three-way conversation with the lab. Like for me, you need to plan first. Like no matter, like I tell patients all the time, they want to know what to do. I'm like, it's not that easy. You know what I mean? It's like me sending you into a kitchen. If I don't give you every ingredient and what to put in when, how long to cook it for, you're not going to get the same result.
Correct.
This is all planning. And yes, like I believe continuing education
Is
is a huge, huge, like the biggest thing that I've ever done. Like I live my life where like I live like I'm going to die tomorrow, but I want to learn like I'm never going to die. Like, you got to learn.
Get that line down, everybody. You're going to live like you're going to die tomorrow, but you want to learn like you're never going to go.
It's everything because
Amazing.
even once you think you know it all,
That's brilliant.
technology, I think things are changing so quick. I tell dentists if you're practicing the same way you did 2 years ago, you're
done.
behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's true.
changing that fast.
How does it feel being that lecturer now? Being that person that are putting these things together?
Well, listen, I mean, I've always dabbled in it in the beginning, and then I stopped when my kids were playing football and all that. And it's kind of like Ross Nash called me up one day and says, "Listen, I want you to teach the digital." And I kind of felt like, what was it? The Godfather, right? When I thought I was out, they sucked me back in.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I enjoy it.
You having fun?
It is fun. It's
Yeah.
fun when people really want to do it for the right reason. There's a lot of people that do it just for their CE because they want to keep their license. And you could tell right before. Like to me, when someone really wants to learn and loves it and is trying to do it for the right reason, and sometimes it's an ego too. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to just know as much as you can so you could be the greatest dentist you want for your ego. That's fine for me as long as the patient's getting the benefit.
I don't know if somebody's coming to see that type of program that you're putting together and some of the things I've seen you do. I don't know if they're coming there to get credit. I mean, that's work and that's knowledge and it's mold.
Listen, I get it. You're right for the big programs, but years ago when I was doing it, when you're doing these hour programs, they're just trying to fill their schedule.
Listen,
I
years
think
ago, Lumineers came out. The conferences were packed, 400 or 500 people in that auditorium. And I don't see that the same way, but I think the people that are stuck with it, like some of us that have built practices, care about quality, care about patient experience. Think about that. My mantra was do the right thing, the money will come. I don't care
exactly.
what you're accepting. And if you're accepting an insurance, you don't have the right to do anything but a $3,000 crown.
Yeah.
It has to be perfect. So in your view, if I'm going to do a $3,000 crown, I might as well get paid for a $3,000 crown
And make it perfect.
and make it perfect.
You got to make it perfect. Listen, at the end of the day, when a patient walks out, when they smile, that's your business card.
Any regrets for you? Now that you look back at a 30-year career and you say, maybe I should have done this, maybe I could have.
Listen, I honestly think my whole life, I think I planned it exactly like I want. If I had any regrets for young dentists, when you're starting to make your money, put more towards your investments and get rid of some of the toys. Instead of having 4 cars at the same time, if you're going to a resort, you don't need the penthouse. But listen, that's young and stupid.
That's part of bringing new patients in. People see you driving and
Listen, it's young and stupid.
it's young and stupid. Young and a little insecure and stupid. As we got older, we got more
you try
secure.
to you
No,
try to
but
impress
I got to
trying to
tell
impress
everybody,
yourself.
this guy's the real deal. I mean, to spend a little time with Dr. Vocaturo, and I mean that. I wanted to have him on. He's a tough guy to have because he's busy and to your credit, you are focused on patient experience and you are focused on patient care, and it's amazing.
That's why we went into the field.
That's
I mean,
exactly right.
at the end of
And
the
I
day,
agree with that.
at the end of the day, you want to put your head on a pillow and say, I gave it my all. That's the best I could possibly do. And if somebody could do it better than you, send them there.
There you
Your
go.
job as a doctor is to treat this the best it can be. One more thing I want to tell these young guys.
Please.
And girls, sorry.
I was going to say
When
that.
you're out there treatment planning these cases, don't forget, I mean, in dental school, we're trained to treatment plans patients' needs. They also have wants, and it's your job to let them know that. Like,
Awesome.
it's not all about sitting there saying, well, MO on here, this, faulty margin. Listen, they may have a crossbite they don't even know, a reverse smile. Let them know what can be done for them, even if you can't do it. Like, for instance, someone comes into me and needs an apico. I let them know they need an apico. I can't do it. I'm better off fixing your transmission than giving you an apico. But my point is, let them know if there's something out there that our profession could help them with. Gain the knowledge and try to do it, if you don't know how to do it. But send them somewhere
Do you
that
ever
can.
do you ever do a smile, like a pre-smile guide, and show them what they would look like with some of this new? I mean, there's something new that came out called Presto. No CUDA. I'm just saying, like you're getting the Lumineers had a whatever they called it, where I would do that when I created
Yeah,
Snap.
you know what it is. I gotta be honest with you. I've never placed a luminaire. To me, that was cosmetics for dummies.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was going through my accreditation. To me, that listen, you have to prep a little bit. These no prep veneers that we're doing today, they're still preps. You still got to put a little bit of a margin.
yeah.
You don't want, you want a flush margin. But to me, guide wise, you can't do a cut and paste. I can't take your smile and put it in my face. It'll look totally different. I mean, that's why we do digital mock-ups now. We could use, scans. We could use facial scanners, which I have, and put the mock-up in it. You could show them that way, but you got to use their real arch, their real teeth. You
So
can't
let
put
me
somebody
ask you,
else's.
how do they? What could they look up? Somebody's listening and they want to get involved with Anthony Vocaturo and what you could teach them, because I'm going to tell everyone listening and everyone that stops in this podcast, this guy can teach you to become a cosmetic guru, a restorative guru, but also just build a fee-for-service practice of your dreams. And I can tell you he's got it, because it's a beautiful spot to park yourself every day.
You're always welcome here,
Anthony, on a
buddy.
different note, I mean, you really do hire just buttoned up people. I mean, they look like it's almost like a team.
It is a team. It's never a staff. A staff's an infection.
Exactly. A great line. But it's really kudos to you to do that. And your son must be eager to get in there. I mean, really excited to work side by side with you.
Yeah, well, listen, the great thing was when he keeps, I'm thinking it's great. My son's going to come out. I could slow down a little bit. He tells me on the phone every time he talks to me, he goes, you can't retire. He goes, you got to teach me dentistry. I'm
Exactly.
like, that's why you're in school. He goes, no, Dad, you realize that's not why I'm in
You
school.
got 3 to 5 years. That's what you got.
Yeah,
But that's a
exactly.
tribute. I got to tell everyone, this has been a joy, Anthony. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And I really want to come and take one of your courses, even though I'm not doing much chairside anymore. But just to watch you in action, I've seen you in your office. It's like your kingdom. But people really should know that here's a guy that stuck with it. I love people that do things that I didn't. And, I'm not regretting anything I did, but having a fee for service, strict fee for service practice is something I didn't have the fortitude for. And I think you got to have a lot of
But
go.
but you did a lot of things I didn't.
That's
You
true.
know what
I
I mean?
mean,
And
that's what makes it beautiful.
what's the
And we
old saying is
respect
the
the hell
grass
out
is
of each
always
other.
greener,
That's right.
right? But
That's
listen,
right.
at the end of the day, we both have good lives,
Beautiful.
healthy families,
That's right.
supporting our families. And at the end of the day, years from now, I tell my kids this. I'm like, when I'm in my deathbed, 150 years from now, them last few days, you know what you're going to think about? How did I change someone else's life? You're not going to think about your car. You're not going to be thinking about your house. You're not going to be thinking about any of that. So just be the best you can be. And if anybody, listen, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'll be happy to even put my cell phone out here. It's 201
Go ahead.
317 1100. You
Yeah,
could
you heard it.
text,
With
and
that,
any way I could help. I mean, to me, I'm here to help people. So
I got to tell you something. And when I saw you and Ross together, I've dealt with Ross, my travels with DenMat on Snap on Smile. We got pretty friendly. I got to tell you, he's really a giving guy and really loves what he does. I think the two of you together, it's a dynamic approach, and I urge everyone to just enjoy it and learn from it, because it really could be fantastic.
yeah, listen, I wouldn't be myself if it wasn't for Ross. And I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
what
Ross.
he gave me, I like to give others. So
Yeah, and Ross and his wife,
Good people.
Deborah, right? Deborah Nash.
Deborah.
Yeah, they're
And she's a
wonderful.
world renowned. Let me tell you, she is great for business, for front desk. If anybody's ever interested in, I know at the Nash Institute in Charlotte, they also give business courses where Deborah gives it.
Didn't know
Like
that.
she could listen. The big important things is people like me, or you may know it already. You could go out there and know how to do this. The two things that are missing is how do you get people in your chair, and then once you get them in the chair and you show them and you know how to do it, how do you close the case? You know, you always the Yankees have a closer. You need a closer,
That's the truth.
and that's where Deborah comes in. The three things are essential for these types of
Yeah,
practices.
once you could close, they're valuable people. I mean, I know that. That keeps us from discussing money and stay as the doctor. It's very important.
Yeah, but
It's a great team, and we're going to catch you down the road. Anthony, thank you so much. You look so
Very good.
relaxed. I'm so happy to talk to you.
yes, my pleasure.
We got to
Mark.
get that dinner, and
Yes, for sure.
thank you. I really appreciate your time. I love you,
Thanks for
brother.
having me.
Take care. All
Take
the
care,
best.
buddy. Bye bye.